Hello and welcome to Aaron's War History. In today's video, I'm just going to be talking about an interesting French resistance newspaper. So this newspaper was written by the American War Office and dropped by the United States Air Force over occupied France within drop containers. So these drop containers wouldn't just contain newspapers, obviously. It would also contain weapons, ammunition, stuff like boots, clothing, anything and everything that you need to fight a war against the Germans, against the German occupation. So within all that stuff, these would be bundled in there. So once the resistance come and collect the container, they would empty the contents obviously, and then with these, they would be distributed further within resistance movements. So one would give it to another, and then so forth. So it would travel that way through France, get dropped by plane, and then distributed further by the actual resistance and people who were keen on the resistance and stuff like that. So there was also drops to all the resistance places, drops to all the occupied places in World War II. Some drops needed more ingenuity than others. But that'll be another story for another day. We go off on a tangent otherwise. So let's have a talk about the front and what it actually says. So it's called America at War. And the front just talks about the politics that America are getting into and what they're discussing. Then over the right hand side we've got some Russia victories, how they've been getting on. Once we come into this side, we talk about the sort of the United Nations being together, like the French and the Allies coming together. So we've got a British Sten gun, we've got a British Spitfire, but we've got members of the French resistance, and then here we've got French airmen who are flying our Spitfires, but they're wearing American uniforms. So this overall bit is talking about that it's a collaboration of allies and obviously resistance members, and we need everyone basically to help fight the war together. On the back side, which is my favourite little bit over in the corner here. So the French resistance had their own publications as well. It wasn't just papers like this that were printed by the Allies. They had quite several publications. So this one in particular just highlights some stuff from the underground newspaper called The Combat. And it talks about that there was 196 planes that were causing nuisance by noise. 137 of those 196 planes were involved in really catastrophic crashes or being shot down or whatever. So it celebrates that the people there in Toulouse won't have to put up with the planes anymore flying. It then talks at the bottom there, sadly, that a French pilot mistook a house as the French airfield, and it killed, I believe, my French isn't great. This says the poor inhabitants burnt to death, sadly. So it shows you another area of things that you don't think about. You don't really think about planes crashing into innocent people's houses. It's not really something that you think about. You just tend to think about the combat. So I like that it mentions that kind of thing. And then over here it talks about, in a sort of jokey way, how a historic place went up in flames, and it was due to a Luftwaffe plane crashing into the kitchen, and saying that it was late for dinner and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a pretty cool little thing. Like I said, my French isn't too great, so I can't get the best out of it. Google Translate is a bit rusty with it. But nevertheless, it's an interesting piece. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've learnt something. If you have, please leave a comment, please subscribe, and it really helps the channel. Cheers for watching, guys. See you in the next one.